Hey friends, it's Jamie here with Reece Homes. I saw this article pop up in my Facebook feed this morning, and I thought it was an interesting example of if it bleeds, it leads. And frankly, if it's not bleeding, they're going to stab it and try to make it bleed. Scads of more inventory fails to bring Seattle area home buyers off the sidelines. That was the headline. And then when you dig into it, they talk about homeowners are willing to transact, but buyers not so much. Then they go on to better news, which is home prices have stayed flat year over year in Pierce and Snohomish County, while they rose 6.5% and over 5% in King County. So that's kind of good news. But let's get back to the bad news. Let's see what's bleeding. Up inventory skyrocketed, up nearly 70% in King County and 78% in Snohomish County. Well, that's amazing. That market must be crashing, right? Well, that's so interesting because that is not what we're seeing in the overall market. And it's always interesting to me when they use ratios related to inventory, which is a relatively small number counted in months of inventory on the market, right? So I wanted to look at the actual numbers, which is something I do on a very regular basis, right? And what we actually find is the MLS over the entire region, we have about 3.4 months of inventory, King County 2.8 and Snohomish County 1.8. Well, that is up by about 26% in the region, 56% in King County, and 60% in Snohomish County. And that might be alarming with the exception of this happens every single year. It is just part of the quote selling season where many sellers wait to bring their homes to market until April, May, June, July, and that's where we see the bell curve, right? And it's also less alarming when you recognize that a seller's market is any market with 3 months of inventory or less. A balanced market is 4 to 6 months, and a buyer's market is 7 or more months. So over the entire region, we're starting to get to a balanced market because of some of the economic and political things that are going on right now. But in King and Snohomish counties and our local counties here, we're actually still seeing a seller-favored market overall. Now, the interesting thing that I found when I looked at this is that these numbers don't match what they had mentioned in the article. And so I dug around and I thought, well, gosh, where is that? And in their case, they were considering active inventory being the number of homes for sale, as opposed to what realtors and economists use when we talk about inventory, which is economic inventory, which is basically taking the total number of active homes and dividing it by the number of homes that closed that month. 10,000 active homes out there and 2,500 closed sales creates 4 months of inventory, right? That's the number that we use because inventory is a much better metric because it gives you a feeling of what the market's like. So if total number of homes goes up and total number of buyers go up in an equal measure, well, then you have a market that feels very similar. But how do we justify their numbers? Well, then we look at the total number of homes for sale, and we see that, yes, total number of homes for sale compared to last year in King County was up 75%, up to 3,000. And we look in Snohomish County, it was up about 70% compared to last year. But then we go back to those inventory numbers, and they weren't up nearly that much. Right? And again, this increase in active listings increases every single year. It's just part of the overall market. And you can see that this year isn't much more substantial than it was in 2022 or even last year. Right? Now, let's look at how does the market feel for sellers? Well, it feels pretty good for sellers right now, is that despite that increase in active inventory and the increase in economic inventory, they're still getting 102% of their original listed price on average and 100% in Snohomish County. Right? Days on market are plummeting as they do every year around this time. And it's down to 16 days in King and 19 days in Snohomish. And then some of the new data that we have that is much more current, right? What we know is pending contracts with multiple offers. Yeah, those are down by 10%, but we're still seeing 32% of all pending sales have multiple offers. Likewise, while it's down by 8%, we're seeing pending listings with escalation addenda at still 14%. So almost 2 in 10, 1 in 10 listings are getting those escalation addenda. Likewise, when we look at the competitive offer strategies that are out there with buyers, about 1/3 of all buyers are waiving their financing contingency in order to get a home. Now that is down by 5%. I know that says here plus 5%, right? But that's the pending with a financing contingency, right? And likewise, inspection contingencies, you're still seeing about 2/3 of all listings receiving waived inspections as part of buyer strategies, right? So when you look at all of this, certainly the market is not bleeding. It is definitely, we're seeing inventory go up. We're seeing a little bit more balance in the overall market. And I just encourage you to be a little skeptical of some of the information that you read out there. If you've got questions about it, reach out to us. I'm always happy to answer your questions. And of course, if you'd like to be part of this spring or summer market and are looking for experts on the market who go beyond just reading the headlines, you can always contact us. We'd love to help you. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the summer.